Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining today's Goodyear webinar on the ultra-high performance segment, live from the Broadcasting Center studio here in Luxembourg. My name is Jeroen Rigole. I'm responsible for brand communications within EMEA, and I will be your host for today. I have invited three guests today who will share their knowledge and insights on UHP and our latest addition to the successful Eagle product family, the Eagle F1 Asymmetric tree. It's my pleasure to introduce you to Olivier Rousseau, who is Vice President Consumer Business Unit at EMEA. Olivier will dial in to the studio from the Brussels office, and he will share his views on the UHP market trends. Martijn, on my left-hand side, he is Brand Director, Goodyear and Associated Brands at EMEA, and together we'll talk about consumers' demands in the UHP segment. Welcome, Martijn.
Thank you.
And on his left-hand side, you have, last but not least, Joachim Meijs. He's Marketing Product Manager EMEA, and Joachim will dive into the technical highlights of the Eagle F1 Asymmetric tree.
Hello.
Thanks for joining, everyone. For those following the webinar, one important point to make: we have some time set aside at the end of the webinar to answer your questions. Please submit them via the pressquestions@goodyear.com address. So that's pressquestions@goodyear.com. And we will try to answer them in time we have reserved for this at the end of the webinar. So, Olivier, welcome. I hope you're on the line.
Yes, I am.
Welcome, Olivier. Thanks for joining. Before we dive into the details of the ultra-high performance segment, can you briefly explain what this category stands for?
Yeah, the UHP category. So UHP tire is defined as a tire with a rim diameter equal to or greater than 16 inch, an aspect ratio equal to or less than 55, and a speed symbol or speed index higher than a V. So those are tires that are designed to provide superior braking performance as well as cornering performance at high speed.
Okay, thank you for that. So looking at the segment, the market segment, how has it been evolving, and what trends do we identify for the future?
Yes, Jeroen, as we look to the future, we expect this segment to continue growing. And if we look first, let's say back, look at an example of the evolution of the VW Golf and its evolution since 1976. So what we see clearly is that between, so from a Golf 1 to a Golf 7 in 2013, the car shape evolved, yes, but more interesting for us, the engine evolved, and therefore the need for different tires evolved as time passed. And overall, if we look at whether it is the width that moved from a 185 to a 225, or the rim size for a 14 to a 17 inch, or the aspect ratio from 60 to 45, or the speed index from T to W, you see that we have had a clear evolution towards a more high performance or ultra high performance tire on that vehicle. So that was basically looking back at an example of and seeing the evolution on the characteristics of the tire over time. But if we look forward, what we expect is that this evolution will continue. And if we look at vehicle segments, and specifically at the high end of the car park, so the segments C, D, and E, and it's true D and E are really at the high end of the car park. C is maybe a little less for lower medium or medium class car. What we expect to see going forward, and it's clearly reflected on the chart, is that those segments are going to continue growing. So on the luxury segment, we expect a 1% compounded annual growth going forward. So from now till 2020, we expect the same type of growth for upper medium and executive class, and we expect an even, let's say, a higher growth on the C segment, the lower medium and medium class. So overall, if we look at that, and if we see that the vehicle segments C, D, and E are going to continue to grow in Europe, what we should expect is that this will have an impact on the growth of the UHP segment.
So, and would it be fair of me to assume that from that growth, there's also a tire growth in the UHP market? Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. So, yeah, after looking at the evolution of the vehicle park and the impact of that vehicle park, we should expect that there will be also an evolution on the tire segment evolution. So, if we look at the different segments of tires on summer, what we expect is that evolution that we saw on vehicle we'll see also on tires. So what we clearly expect is that looking back first and looking at what happened in the last 5 years, we have seen negative growth rates in average for the summer standard segment, negative growth rates also on the summer high performance, even if this segment is recovering now since 2012, and more significant growth, so between 3 to 5% annual growth rate for summer ultra high performance. So clearly a segment that has reflected the evolution of the car park and of an evolution towards much more UHP market.
Sorry,
yeah?
Go ahead, Olivier.
No, I was going to say, and if we look forward, we see similar trends going forward. So we have looked at the same data and we have made projections with our market research team, looking at the evolution of the tire segments between 2015 and 2020. And what we clearly see here is that the trends that we saw for the last 5 years are going to continue in the next 5. So we see the summer standard segment to continue to decrease. We see the summer high performance segment to grow in average 2% per year each and every year between now and 2020. And we see, let's say, even more important, the ultra high performance segment to grow between 3 and 5% from now till 2020. So overall, on the UHP market, and as a consequence of the evolution of the car park that we saw previously, we see clear growth going forward for the UHP segment.
Thanks, Olivier. So it's clear that it's a market segment that is very important. What is the Goodyear's answer to this market evolution?
Yeah, the short answer is we want to capture that growth.
Okay.
And at Goodyear, we have a proud tradition of innovation. So what we want to do is to fulfill the needs of our OE manufacturers, either their current needs or their future needs. So that's why we stay so close from OEMs. But we also want to fulfill the needs of consumer across the world, and specifically here in Europe. So this is why, let's say, not so long ago in Geneva, we were very proud to introduce our latest innovation in the ultra-high performance segment, the Eagle F1 Asymmetric 3, because again, this is really the product that we expect is going to help us capture the growth of that segment.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us, Olivier. Can I ask you to stay on the line? As I said earlier, we might have some questions that we would like to address to you, okay?
Sure.
Martijn, welcome once more.
Thank you, Jeroen.
Before we go into more detail on Goodyear consumers and UHP demands, can you just briefly refresh your memories on what Goodyear stands for?
Yeah, well, I would really like to reference already to what Olivier said. So it's innovation, and as Goodyear we have a proud heritage of innovation, literally being the center of what we do for almost 110 years. And indeed, it's that innovation that also pushes the boundaries on safety performance elements. So from a company perspective, I can truly say that Goodyear cares about people and their family, and always pushing the boundaries to get the most reliable design and the technology in our products. That's also reflected in, let's say, our brand philosophy. As you can see, is indeed Goodyear stands for more than just tires. We want to sell basically to enjoy the journey. That's our pitch, and by doing so, it's the peace of mind element is definitely key. Peace of mind, by being equipped with the right tires, the Goodyear tires, you're having a peace of mind. You're also being empowered to enjoy the journey. And therefore also the Goodyear payoff has been always Goodyear made to feel good. So that's a quick explanation on the brand positioning itself. If we dive into the target groups, there
so target groups, you mean the people we make the tire for?
Indeed, the people for who we make the tires for. And we always work market back. So in our research on consumers and consumer needs, we have two target groups. It's the trust seekers and the care seekers. There are some differences between demographics between the two. But the sure thing that is common between those two is they will never compromise on safety for their family. And that means also in relation to the car that they might not be too interested or savvy with vehicle technology as such. They do want to have all the latest vehicle technology that brings them safety on or in their car. And they, again, will not compromise on that one. Of course, this is also a target group that is also willing to pay for premium products, premium tires as such.
So when you talk consumers, we've identified who they are.
Yeah.
What do they expect from their tires within the UHP segment? Can we dive a bit deeper on that?
Yes, yes. We do regularly researches on defining those needs. And indeed, what we have in front of us indeed is a research that we used for this Asymmetric 3 product. And clearly braking is the #1 feature for UHP drivers that they're looking for. It's followed by good wet grip and dry handling. And also mileage is of importance. When we look at these results, for the one who are doing the math already, the sample groups do not add up because that's part of an overlap. And regarding the scores, they are part of, let's say, a statistical ranking from 0 to 100. And if we look at the total sample of the consumer group we interviewed, clearly, as said, safety is the biggest. So braking is the leading need. But also if we zoom into trust seeker and care seeker, our Goodyear target groups, that score is even higher. So really market back, consumer market back, this is clearly the direction that we took in order to develop this new Eagle F1 Asymmetric 3.
Okay, thank you. So if I understand it correctly, so all these market back expectations and the insights that you just shared with us, they have resulted in the birth of this new tire. Is that correct?
Yeah, definitely. Indeed, it's defining those needs. And then, of course, the big quest starts to push the boundaries regarding technology. And we have some really exciting news to tell today. So overall, the Asymmetric 3 is our new product line to bring, for that matter, also referring to Olivier, growth to the segment and also extend our leadership position. I will also introduce later OE.
And OE is?
OE stands for original equipment. So that's the vehicle car manufacturers that indeed also need tires for their cars. And despite what many consumers know, that a car manufacturer is really looking into the performance of the tires, because literally the performance of the tire can also make or break the experience of a car. So there we are closely connected, and I will touch upon it later as well today. Competitive labeling, we are certainly, there we are competitive and leading. And overall, indeed, just to be clear about it, indeed, of course, you want to grow the business. Okay,
thanks a lot, Martijn. So now that we have had an overview of the UHP market and consumers' requirements, Joachim, may I invite you to take us on a journey of very difficult and difficult to understand technical and engineering background, please?
Sure. So what Martijn explained is about safety, about driving on the road. This is, let's say, marketing explanation, what we are looking for. But the technical team that needs to develop the tire are made of engineer, PhD, compounder, test driver. You know, they test the tire, they measure the tire, they speak in percentage comparing to other tire, meter, speed, acceleration. So we need to translate the marketing requirement into technical requirement. So that's really the first step we need to accomplish. And this is accomplished by a process which is called a performance objective. And for that, we use standardized test items like the braking, the aquaplaning, the rolling resistance. This is part of a set of standardized tests. But that is not enough. We need to give some priority. So how do we proceed? We set up a process which is what we call the benchmarking. We take the asymmetric 2, so the predecessor. We know what the tire is, and we say, look, we would like to improve. What shall we do? Of course, we keep an eye on the competition. We know we are not living on an island. We need to compare and see what is going on there. So Martin explained that safety is key for Goodyear. But what does that mean, safety? But it means, in fact, braking. Braking in wet and in dry. That's why on the chart you see now on the screen, the two items on braking appear in the priority A, which is a top priority. Now, we speak about UHP tire, ultra-high performance. Performance means performance on the road, and therefore you will see the handling, wet and dry, also appearing in the high priority. So the four items classified in the A, which are the dry braking, the wet braking, the wet handling and dry handling, are the focus priority for the development of this new asymmetric tree. Now, we test much more than that. That's what you see in the list here, the rolling resistance, the aquaplaning, the noise, the mileage. We keep an eye on it, we develop, and I will not preempt on the later discussion, but we have a cherry on the cake, you will see, so stay alert. We have some good news as well on those items. Now, of course, if we put braking and handling in the priority zone, we ask the technical team for the most improvement. That's what you see with the plus improvement required for the braking, for the Goodyear safety, and the handling for the UHP++.
Okay, thanks, Joachim. But that's theory, right? I mean, it's a lot of theory, but it's theory. How does then the process work from the theory going to the actual production of the tire and the features that go into the tire?
So you're right. I mean, that's easy table. I mean, everybody can put a table and put number, but afterwards, someone needs to make the tire. And the team, the technical team, needs to come up with new technologies that they put in the tire to make the performance. In order to be quite simple, we can divide the tire into three parts. The first one, and I will take the tire that I've brought with me, this is the pattern. So that's what you see on your car. When you look at the car, you see your tire. This is what you see. We call it the pattern. The second portion, this is the compound. So often referred as rubber, but I will tell you there is much more than rubber. And the third portion, this is what we call the construction. This is everything which is inside of the tire, rubber, but also nylon, steel. I will explain you. So I propose we start with the pattern. And you see so the pattern here on the screen. And if we focus now on the shoulder, you will see that we increase the length of the block. So you see each of the block, and we increase the length. And why did we do that? It's simply to increase the contact patch. And if we say increasing the contact patch means we have better braking distance. So that's the first feature in the pattern. Now to go on the second feature, and then we have an animation that we can start. There is a second feature which is called the active braking technology, which was already available in the Asymmetric 2. It's too difficult to show on the tire, that's why it's better to look at the animation. Of course, we want to avoid the shadow car and brake when the lane change of the front car. And you see the active braking technology allows to enlarge the contact patch when under loaded condition. And again, increase contact patch, better surface to brake and better braking distance. So that's the first, let's say, technology, the active braking technology, delivering braking distance. That's for the pattern. I propose now to have a look about the compound. So I said it's rubber, but it's more than rubber. So I brought with me resin. So I just show you some pieces. So of course here it's raw material, so that's the resin. And what is very important to understand with this resin is that thanks to its viscoelastic properties, this resin delivers the grip at heavy condition. Heavy condition means emergency braking or, for example, cornering at high speed. And why it does that? Because when you are in such emergency condition, heavy loaded condition, the temperature of the tire gets to a range 60, 70 degrees, and that resin delivers the optimum grip at that temperature. So that's the feature that delivers this resin.
If I may ask, Joachim, what is where does it come from?
It's pine resin.
Pine, okay.
Yeah, exactly. Now, but why do we need grip? Why do we need grip and resin? Well, if we have a look now to the slide on the screen, just imagine yourself in a car when you're driving, braking, going left, right. In fact, what happens is that there is a lot of forces acting on the tire. If you brake, for example, you have longitudinal forces acting back from the road to the tire. If you turn to the left, to the right, it's lateral force acting. The forces are, if you remember from the old school mathematics, the vector, this thing adds up, so braking, cornering, of course, you can do at the same time. And you have, like shown on the slide, a resulting force. And as soon as it stays within normal condition, it's fine. However, something you cannot do, and that's something you can see on the next slide, is that if you want to brake at the maximum grip level, and at the same time enter a corner at the maximum grip laterally, in fact, you get out of what we call the grip limit, which is visualized with a circle. And therefore, it's bad because you are just losing control on the tire and happens what happens. Now, what we did with this new compound and the pine resin, remember I told about heavy condition, high temperature, that's exactly this case. And therefore, if we look at the next slide, we just enlarge the circle and the grip limit. So the grip booster technology, the second technology we put from the compound, is helping for the grip. And I would like to remind that the compound is any direction. That's the beauty of the compound, is that it delivers the grip in all the directions, left, right, acceleration or braking. So that's for the second portion, so the compound. The third portion, and then we can start with the animation. This is the what is inside of the tire. So, and then you will see the tire divided in layers. The first layer I just talked about, this is the rubber and the grip booster compound delivering the grip. And you will see that the next two layers are so-called the bottom cap layer and also the cool cushion. These are made up to reduce the heat generation, because they are heat generated when you're driving. This has a good effect on the fuel consumption, but not only, because reducing the heat generation allows you as a driver to keep easier the control on the tire, okay? Because the more stable temperature inside of the tire. Then the last component in the tire are the cords. The cords made of nylon and of steel. And I've brought with me the type of filament that we have in the tire. And the thing to remember with this filament is that the technical team has worked to reduce the diameter of those fibers. And because of that, we were able to reduce as well the layer in the tire. So if you imagine those filament cords of steel, they are aligned to each other as a layer, and then they are put together in the tire. Now, if you imagine this table is the road, and if you look at my hand, and this is the breaker, because we were able to reduce the diameter of the cord, we were able also to reduce the gauge of the layer, and therefore, like my hands are moving to the ground, we are closer to the ground. What does that mean? But it means that the force from the ground on the tire are going quicker to the steel transmitting to the carcass, to the rim, back to the steering wheel. And then you, as a driver, you have a good, fast feedback, a better control, good sensitivity in your hands, and that is all about safety.
Yeah. Joachim, perhaps as a double check for the audience, is this also the setup in the actual tire?
So that's almost the setup in the tire. So here we have the cords. Yeah. The cords are made up of filament, which are twisted. Then those filament and cords are treat it with a coating in order to stick very well to the layer of rubber. Then the filaments are placed like that, parallel, a layer, and then only applied to the tire to be finally in the tire. Yes, that's how it is. This is the steel, let's say, the steel component for the breakers.
So as a recap, Joachim, could you just in a few words rephrase what you just explained in a very detailed way?
So, three portions: the pattern, two features for the braking, the grip booster in all directions delivers the grip, and the reinforced construction. You have the new breaker filament. I didn't mention it's called ultra tensile. Before it was normal tensile, so ultra, it's even more stiff, and therefore delivering also, as I explained, better handling on the road.
Seems like a great effort from the Goodyear team.
But as you can imagine, it's not one single person. It's many persons, a lot of people in the team, engineers, PhD, compounders, so focusing on the rubber and the gummy. I made some calculation just to give some number. So in total, this means 36,000 hours of work, 5,000 tests indoor, in the lab, on the road, for a total of 330,000 kilometers. So that's how big the effort was for delivering this Goodyear Eagle F1 Asymmetric 3.
That's impressive. And it shows to what length we go to produce these tires. You mentioned tests. We don't only do internal tests, we also have external organization testing our tires. So when the rubber hits the road, how did we do in the TÜV test, for instance?
Yeah, well, in fact, we chose a TÜV test, which is an independent body who tested our tire because, okay, we test internally, we have targets, but we want really to be sure that we attain the target that we set earlier. And as you remember, safety and ultra-high performance, it's about braking and handling. So I propose to go through those 4 items to see if we achieve the challenge that we fixed to our technical team. And the first slide, it's about the wet braking performance. So you see in yellow the asymmetric tree, and then below you have the average of competitor at 100% in this case, and the 3 competitors, namely the Michelin, the Continental, and the Bridgestone. That compares to our new product, and you see clearly that we have an advantage of 10% on the wet braking. So that's quite a great achievement. And then if we have a look now to the dry braking, we see that we have also an advantage, 4%. Now, 4%, 10% looks like it's a little bit less for the dry, but that's simply, let's say, a size effect in the sense that the grip on the dry road is much higher, and so the difference between the different tires is much smaller. So you really need to believe that 4% on the dry is as big as 10% on the wet. So clearly, already there, I mean, the top 2 items in priority, the braking wet and dry, that was asked to our technical team, I mean, clearly they delivered.
And that's compared to competitors A, B, and C.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, I said earlier the ultra-high performance, this is about handling. We tested also the handling, and you see on the wet, 4% better compared to competition. Here, some word maybe about how it has been, let's say, aggregated. The wet handling is made of 2 parts. First, the lap time, which is recorded, which is quite objective, and then what we call the subjective assessment, so with ratings and so on for different type of behavior. Subjective but made by professionals, so very consistent from test to test. So really that's quite consistent, and that's the 2, let's say, subjective and lap time are aggregated into one single outcome, which is a 104 for the Eagle F1 Asymmetric 3. So again, delivering in handling. In wet, in dry, we are also better than competition, and here again, because the grip on the dry is much higher, the differences are less, but I think the result is also quite good here. So as a summary, braking, handling, the TÜV results show that we are clearly ahead of competition.
I think we even looked at some more details. I think the next slide gives us a bit of information on that. Could you deep dive a bit more on what we see now?
I explained earlier we set priority, but we test much more than that. What is quite interesting to note here is the rolling resistance, for example. We are quite much better than the average competition. Rolling resistance, this is part of the label. So that's one good point Martin mentioned. But also the OEM, the CO2 emission, there is quite a lot of pressure on the OEM, so the car manufacturer, Audi, Peugeot, and so forth. They need to come up with CO2 emission reduction, and believe me, they ask the tire to contribute, and the rolling resistance is part of it. So that's clearly coming from our company, listening also to what we hear from those partners. The last one is aquaplaning. So we are not the best, clearly, but we are, let's say, equal at par with competition. So I would say overall quite complete and a product that has delivered what we ask to deliver.
So yeah, that shows. Just to recap that, can we safely say that we've made it work, the requirements were met?
Yes, I think clearly we can say it. And on this last chart from my side, instead of speaking about percentage, we can look at meters, like the engineer prefer probably. 2.6 meter shorter distance versus the average. I mean, pedestrian crossing, just think about that. That's even bigger probably. 1.3 meter dry braking. Again, 1.3 meter on dry, that's big. So also clearly we delivered. And 4% better wet handling. Also, I mean, with the Goodyear Eagle F1 Asymmetric 3, we are well equipped for the UHP and for the safety for Goodyear.
Yeah. No, definitely. Indeed, if you look back, I think indeed, Joachim already said it, the technical teams did a tremendous job of indeed, again, pushing those boundaries to get in the end more safety performance for the product. But indeed, there's more, let's say the icing on the cake is also that we tested a tire with DEKRA, another famous, let's say, independent testing organization. And we had the tires tested for mileage, and also there I think we have great results. Our tire, the Asymmetric 3, performs 11,500 more kilometers, or translated 31% more mileage versus the average of competition. And indeed, the competition is also the three leading premium competitors that we have at hand. So again, excellent news. Excellent news.
Okay. In terms of the results of these beautiful test results, how do car manufacturers respond to that in terms of approvals, etc.?
Yeah, well, I think a picture tells more than 1,000 words, and I think this picture indeed does. If we look back, the Asymmetric, the first Asymmetric product, we launched in 2007. And you can see here from bottom up, let's say, all the generation of car brands, leading car brands that have fitted the Asymmetric tire. If we move upwards, then indeed we have our latest addition to the car manufacturer fitments. It's Jaguar XF, launched end of last year. It's the Mercedes E-Class, launched in February this year. And also last year, the Camaro in Chevrolet Camaro in North America. And that also together with the previous slide is really, let's say, a strong, let's say, message that indeed we are closely interconnected with the OEMs, with the car manufacturers. And indeed, clearly this product delivers on their needs to get the ultimate of driving performances that they need.
Any idea on the sizes that we will in the market?
Yeah, we will market the Asymmetric 3 with 41 sizes. And then also with regard to OE, just to give you a glimpse, we have about 20 sizes in the lineup for this year, together with the car manufacturers, and roughly 10 for next year. So again, there's more news to come.
Okay.
Yeah.
Joachim, Martijn, thank you. So before we wrap up and dive into the Q&A, why should a consumer buy the Eagle F1 Asymmetric 3?
Yeah. Well, we tried to summarize it into one slide. Clearly, let's say the pitch for the product is stay in control to enjoy the journey. And indeed, it's, as you have seen, it's indeed a tire that delivers you the most reliable tire performance, and therefore making you, let's say, free to enjoy the journey. So bang on, let's say, the brand proposition, bang on also what we have researched from the market on consumer needs. And if indeed, if we look at the product itself, what does it deliver? Shorter braking distance. Joachim alluded to it. It's a short braking and active braking technology. As a second point, indeed, it's the grip, grip handling, supported by the grip booster compound and also the reinforced construction technology. And as a third one, fitted by OE. By car manufacturers is a clear reason to believe, and then further supported by the TÜV results and the DECRA results, which are also, let's say, public information that we share.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. To me, it was all clear. I assume that there might be some questions from our audience. Just to recap, so as you can see, any questions you would like to raise, please address them to pressquestions@goodyear.com, and we'll try to filter out as much as we can in the time frame we have. Maybe starting with the first question, in terms of looking at trust seekers, have they lost faith in tire brands and tire tests since the Nokian revelations? Tricky question. And what is Goodyear doing to earn and demonstrate it is worthy of the trust? I think it's a fair question in the light of recent news we saw.
Yeah. Yes, it's a fair question, and of course, it's let's say what has happened is impacting the whole tire industry. Of course, we can only speak for ourselves. Goodyear has a big mantra, and that's indeed protect our good name, and that has many directions, and also the direction of test results. We will generally not forfeit any tire test. Indeed, protect our good names is that we need to be credible and genuine in everything we do. So also for this testing that you've seen for TÜV, it is important to note that the tires submitted to TÜV were production tires that came out of production facilities. So the same tire that a consumer would buy in the store. TÜV themselves sourced other brands for the test. So also there, the collaboration with TÜV has been excellent and transparent. And also as a reminder, also TÜV, like DECRA, their sole existence is their independency. And that is an area where we closely respect each other in order to come up with, again, a transparent and genuine result.
Okay, thank you, Martijn.
Yeah.
In terms of run on flat, do we have any plans in that direction? That's the next question.
Yes, so run on flat, we have several projects with car manufacturers. So that will be coming during the year. So you will see Goodyear Eagle F1 Asymmetric 3 equipped with the run on flat technology.
Okay.
So definitely yes.
Thank you, Joachim. So another question that came through, actually 3 questions. Where was it developed and how long did this take? We already had some numbers from you, Joachim. What was the key focus? I think, again, there we can rephrase some of the things that we mentioned. And how much of a role did simulation play? Joachim, are you happy to take this one?
Yeah. So it was developed in our test, in our development center in Luxembourg and in Hanau. But we have also a testing facility in Mireval, south of France. And we are also partnering with car manufacturer, and we test the new product with them. So that's part of it as well. So that's let's say, for the first question. What was the key focus? So safety and UHP, I explained earlier, so that's braking in terms of really performance objective, and what we call the handling in terms of coping with the ultra-high performance. And then simulation plays a role. Definitely, we are investing quite a lot to run simulation, be it finite element method, which is really the state of the art of simulation, could be simulation using tire model in interaction with car. But of course, we know that at the end the tire is landing on the ground, and we test also on the ground, and we ask real people, real driver to assess what is exactly the quality of the tire. That's still needed because we are all human beings with a lot of subjective, let's say, knowledge.
Okay, thank you. So another couple of questions coming in. Let me read them one by one. What were the key test locations, including proving grounds and real roads? Did you do much rig testing? And what were the biggest engineering challenges? It seems that Joachim is quite popular because I think these questions again address you, your knowledge, Joachim.
Yeah, so test location, so there is road testing, there is lab testing. So lab testing, it's mainly Luxembourg and Hanau. Road testing, it's mainly Mireval. We could go to other location in Spain or in Germany, but that's mainly done in Mireval in our test center. Rig testing, so I guess this is more linked to the vehicle, let's say, type of testing and how the tire relates to the vehicle. So yes, we have a specific department which analyze, for example, with a machine we call the flat track, we really have the force and moment. And you remember I spoke about the force acting from the road on the tire. So those are captured and analyzed in relationship with the cars. Of course, we develop tires which are fitting all the cars. Huh? So it's not developed for one specific car, but for all the cars. Now, what were the biggest engineering challenge? In fact, the biggest challenge is to make a tire which is round, meaning that it delivers the grip, the braking, the rolling resistance, the tread wear. Some people speak about triangle, compromise between the performance. That's the main challenge because Martin, he explained a little bit, he wants it all, you know? So that's
high demanding colleague.
That's okay, and we are okay to work with that, and we accept the challenge, and we try to do our best, and the technical team as well. So I would say the biggest challenge is really to enlarge this what we call triangle, so to increase, for example, the grip without any compromise on other items.
Okay, thank you, Joachim. A long question. To where the F1 Asymmetric is positioned against competitor tires. So Continental and Michelin both have max performance tires, Sport Contact 6 and Michelin Pilot Super Sport, and UHP tires, Sport Contact 5 and the Michelin Pilot Sport 4. So which category does your new tire fit into? And do you plan to target separate tires at two categories like your competitors in the future? Joachim? No, I think we should go to Martin this time.
No, so let's say at first glance we would say the Asymmetric 3 compares to the Sport Contact 5 and the Pilot Sport, but in fact it compares to both because especially we are developing with the OEM. So when we are developing with the OEM, we are capable to bring to the OEM, so the car manufacturer, yes, what he's looking for. And we are entering also the area like the Pilot Super Sport on Sport Contact 6. So at this stage, we have taken, let's say, the approach to be quite simple in the portfolio, which I think is quite understandable, especially for the dealer. You have one product which ranges from 17, 16 inch to upper sizes, and that's where we are at the moment. Yes.
No, indeed, I fully underline what Joachim said. So there is an overlap in the size kit versus others, and as always, we continue monitoring the marketplace where we need to, where we will do more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see if there's any other questions coming in. Okay, so where will the tires sit in terms of pricing? Yeah. Joachim or
no, regarding pricing, as you've seen from the presentation, versus predecessor, but also versus competition, the tire offers far bigger value than the predecessor and competition. So for that matter, you get more value worth, especially because we don't price the tire any differently versus the predecessor.
So you get much more for your money?
Basically, you get more for your money. In marketing terms, it's called a value proposition, but indeed, you get more value for your money. And especially, for instance, with the mileage, literally they last longer. So that really is the icing on the cake. And regarding pricing, there is no one common denominator to mention. The key element here is you get more value for your money.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Another question. So Michelin has been selling tires directly to consumers. Are we planning to do the same with Eagle F1 Asymmetric 3? Olivier, are you still on the line? Would you be able to address this question?
Yes, absolutely. The way we look at it today is that so we are developing our strategy, and in Europe, for the time being, we have no plans to sell directly to consumers. We are doing that in the US. So in North America, we are selling tires directly to consumers, but not only tires, but also service and the full experience of buying the tire and the service online, getting through the whole experience of getting your tires fitted on the car. In Europe, we are evaluating what competition is doing as well as what we are doing in the group in North America, and we'll make up our mind at a later stage.
Okay, thank you very much, Olivier. So another question came in. Have you had to alter your production processes, machinery in any way to produce this new tire? Joachim, would you be happy to take this one?
Yeah. So the process in the factory is part of the development and is part of the technology improvement. So so the team is working closely with the factories and with the team implementing the tire later in production, in order first to bring the new technology and to ensure that the technology are really implemented. So, so yes, we have the technology supported by the, let's say, the process in the factory that goes hand in hand.
Okay, thank you. So what label values are possible with the new tire?
So definitely A in wet grip index. The wet braking, as I showed, is impressive, and this is seen as well in the wet grip index value. So we'll reach A, which is the best you can achieve. In terms of rolling resistance, it will depend on the size, because the size has an effect on the calculation of the label for rolling resistance. So we'll sit between mostly C, some E, again depending the size. So I would say an average of CA in terms of label ranking.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that's the end of the questions we have coming in for now. That leaves me to thank. Oh, sorry. I think we had a question already on where is the tire produced. I think we answered that already. So
it's in Europe.
In Europe, yeah. So I think we can. We can conclude for now. Leaving me to thank the speakers. Martijn, thank you very much for your insights. Joachim, it was a pleasure having you here. Olivier, thank you for being with us on the phone. It's been a pleasure. And that leaves me to thank you. Thanks for joining us. Should you want to use any of the materials that have been shown today, please send a mail to pressquestions@goodyear.com. It's all available, so we'll be happy to support you with that. And I wish you a very pleasant afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.